Personally, I don't know about that myself. The jury's out. I'm more about the human connection. We've got a lot of our children in schools, and I would like our mood mentors or mental health mentors to be the fabric of our society. Really being there and helping our children with their development, with their emotional intelligence, with their emotional development.
Welcome to Landmark Difference Makers, where we interview people making a remarkable difference around the world. Get ready to be inspired. Let's jump in.
Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Seamus Ford, and you're attending another episode of Landmark Difference Makers. Today, we're going to be interviewing Dr. Jacqueline Ancelin Campbell. She's the founder of the Julian Campbell Foundation in memory of her brother Julian, who tragically took his own life in 2007 due to mental health struggles. The foundation aims to empower young people aged 11 to 25 to manage their mental health by providing practical and emotional support through mentoring, drama workshops, and teacher training. JCF focuses on early intervention to help youth develop resilience and emotional intelligence, thereby reducing the risks of stress, anxiety, and depression. Our interview with Dr. Campbell is about her journey in transforming a devastating personal tragedy into an international organization dedicated to making a difference. It's really a privilege to have you be here. Do you prefer that I call you Jacqui or Dr. Ancelin Campbell? Dr. Campbell, which would you prefer?
Thanks, Seamus. And I'm really, really happy to be here. And Jacqui works the best.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Jacqui, why don't we just start by, why don't you share with us about your brother?
Yeah. Julian was, I'm getting nostalgic because there's people in this, that are here in the audience that knew him, from when we were children. He was intelligent, he was witty, he was really out there, always wanting to try new things. Yeah, part of me thought that that we would live forever.
Mm. And, as I said in the introduction, the foundation was created in his name and as a direct response to him taking his own life. Can you share a little bit about how you arrived at the, determination to create the foundation?
Yeah. When he died, and for me, it was completely unexpected, because I was involved in it all. Me and my parents, we always tried to do the best that we could. And that's all we could ever do, just do the best that we could. And then when he died, that really struck me. The first thing was my parents and how it was difficult for them. It was me that handled everything, the funeral. It was just too difficult for them to face it. And I remember a moment where I was with my dad and we'd invited some people over so we could talk about the funeral, like, the undertaker and how it was going to go. And my dad just disappeared, and this is uncharacteristic. I've never seen anything like this before. And and then I was thinking, well, it shouldn't really be happening that parents lose their child. So it was difficult for them on that level. And it was in the funeral that I saw everything. I kind of had this raison d'être, this realization. I don't want other people to suffer like this. I want to do something, use what we've gone through and the pain that we've been experienced or been faced with, that we can stop this from happening to other people. And then when I had that realization, as I was speaking and I was doing the eulogy, and it wasn't until 2 years after I tried to start something and I just couldn't do it. I think, my grieving was such that I had to grieve first and get over all of that. Or well, I don't think you can really get over it.
No, no. One of the things that I think would be helpful, just to help tell this story is what was the diagnosis that your brother had, that
My
Julian had?
brother was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So first of all, it was schizophrenia, and then it was bipolar disorder. I didn't really know anything about bipolar disorder. I didn't know anything about mental health difficulties. So what I did in those days, I was giving mine £10 a month. And my brother was, he didn't take his medications, so he was being sectioned. So sectioned would be when he's in a hospital, to make sure that he was taking his medication and that everything was okay. And he'd stay there in the interim until things were more settled, and then he'd go back out again. But he never really engaged with mental health services, and he never really took his medication. And that was the struggle.
That's not an uncommon struggle, from what I understand. If I look personally, I have friends whose, children have diagnosed mental illness, and they struggle to be compliant with their medications. And there's also, just as a person emancipates themselves and they come of age, they really get to make their own choices as well. Um, how prevalent is it for families to have a, a younger person that's struggling with mental illness?
Before about 50 or 60 years ago, it was quite rare. Mental health was something that happened during retirement years. It was rarely ever seen in childhood. It's just that with each decade since, in the last 60 years, it's been more and more. Our young people are subject to more and more stress or stressful situations, and this is their reaction by having these conditions. It's almost like it occurs to me. It's almost like it's a pressure cooker situation.
Well,
Yeah.
having paid attention to this so closely over the last several years, and plus your professional background, um, what would you say is different?
For me, when I went to school, and things might have happened like bullying or something like this, I would go home and the bullying would stop. It seems to me now that in schools, our children are coming home and the bullying is just starting, or it's going to a different level. Now we've got online coverage, on online usage. I know of a story, for example, and this is several years old, of a group of year 8 girls that were bullying one of their peers. They made up an email address and a Twitter account, and they started abusing her. Um, and because our young people don't really know how to use all of this, the internet, they don't know the impact of what they're doing, a long-term impact. And that's part of some of the drama workshops that we do. So our young people can know about their footprint that they're leaving, that it stays there for years. So they can be aware that when they're going out looking for jobs like 10 years or 15 years down the line, that anything that they've said and written will come and bite them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're kind of getting into the multiple facets of the issue of teen mental health. Um, what are the different ways that you're approaching supporting teens, supporting families, and dealing with this?
I started off by looking at what would have made a difference to my brother, because, he didn't engage with any services and it was difficult to know how to support him and give him what he needed. And that's where we came with the concept of the mentor, which is a mood mentor. So for me, that would be somebody that would just mentor and support a young person with their mental health, showing them strategies to manage
You
their
used,
anxiety.
just to
Yeah.
make sure, you used the word mood mentor.
Yeah, mood mentor is it's like a mental health mentor, but we call them mood mentors because having worked in schools for 20 years, they're not academic mentors, and they're not mentors that coach young people or mentor young people at risk of exclusion. These are ones that probably a school refuses because they've got anxiety or depression. So they coach on resilience, they coach on mental health, because this is emotional intelligence. once they know how they're feeling, and then they can take steps to overcome what it is that they're dealing with, this increases their levels of emotional intelligence.
Mm. Well, so let's talk a little bit more about the kind of the breadth of the issue. I live in the Midwest in the United States, and just yesterday there was a school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin, and it's unfortunately a very common occurrence. Um, and what leads to it, I think, is universal. The things that young people are struggling with, and when you talked about emotional intelligence, um, what would you say is different today about the experience of coming of age from how it used to be, where perhaps the kind of emotional intelligence you would have developed, 30 years ago, those opportunities aren't the same?
Yeah. And well, first of all, I just want to say I'm sorry about the impact of all of what's happened with the death group, because each time a young person dies, it makes me feel sad, because
Yeah.
this is what, you know, and and then what I've seen is that young people are just faced with so many things. There's so many distractions. I mean, like one of them, the mobile phone. I don't think they're mature enough to be able to cope with all everything that it contains. It's something that us as adults it needs to be guided. And we hear stories of 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds being given iPads because it quietens them down and everything. But then really the first 7 years of a young person's development is the most important stage for them. This is when we need to be interacting with them. This is when we need to be showing them that even though things are happening to us and some of them might be unwanted, that we're dealing with it in a powerful way. So we're showing and we're demonstrating to them how to manage themselves if something doesn't go very well, and then giving them those skills of resilience.
Do you think that, I'm of the, Generation X, and there's kind of like lots of memes online about, our kind of being tough and not counting on anybody, and, having kind of a resilience in the culture of, that age group. Um, and then you'll see stuff about other generations and generations making fun of each other and poking fun and stuff. But there are some real differences. There's some real differences in the technology. There's real differences in the societies that, we came of age inside of. And I think that for young people today, you often hear the complaint that there's an absence of resilience.
Mm,
And that could be just, they have absurd reasons for being late for work. You're not concerned about that. You're concerned about literal resilience in life with all the things that may come up.
yeah.
Why do you think that's extra important today, like in your view?
It's extra important because we're in a fast changing world, with artificial intelligence and everything like that. What our children need to know for successful lives is different to what it was 5 years ago. It's definitely different to what, I experienced when I was growing up. I think there's a lot of professions that are going to be made redundant. And for me, the thing that I think is most important, and don't get me wrong, I love teaching science. I love the explosions, the dissections, and all of this, that, and the other. I don't think that the knowledge is so important as the emotional intelligence. So the socialization, teaching our young people how to socialize, giving them that emotional intelligence so they can be with themselves, that they cannot be triggered and upsetting people and being upset themselves. It's so important these days, because children and young people that have higher degrees of emotional intelligence, they're more successful in their jobs. They're the ones that are given the promotions. They're the ones that are happier. They have a relationship or get married younger. They get on better with their families. They're generally happier. And, for that reason, I assert that it's just a great idea for us to be showing our children the importance of emotional intelligence and the skills of managing, knowing how they're feeling and doing something about it. So they might wake up and feel rubbish, but it's not going to be like that forever, and they can start doing things or activities that will take them out of that mood. A lot of young people I speak with, they think that it's fixed. I remember a young person saying to me in the drama workshop, oh, well, my doctor's diagnosed me with generalized anxiety, like it's a fixed thing. And there's nothing that can be done to change it. And by the end of the drama workshop, when her mood had changed, she could see that it was indeed possible for her to be changing. And it isn't just something that's fixed and it stays like that forever. And I think that this is what we need to be imparting and sharing with our children. The culture of tablets, that there's about 14 or 15 antidepressants and only one of them seems to work, Prozac. I don't think it's a good idea for us to be giving our young people these kind of medication. It's just easier for us to have them share and speak with somebody, about what it is that's going on in their head. And then for them to let go of what it is in their head so they're lighter and they can go on for the rest of their lives.
One of the things I'm really interested in is the drama therapy and how does that actually produce that shift in, a young person's view of themselves or, some diagnosis that they've received? Could you create a moment like that for us?
Yeah. The mood mentoring is great and it's profound and it's one-on-one. We don't do group mentoring. So the reach isn't as far as would be the drama workshops. So drama workshops, we can work with a whole year group at a time, and year groups in the UK can be up to 300 young people, and we work with 300 young people. And I was going to say not at the same time, we do at the same time, but then we go out into smaller breakout rooms. So we look at topics that those young people might be dealing with. So the schools come to us and say, for example, well, there's a lot of difficulties around body image, for example. This is a common one. And the dangers of social media, like, they're using their phones in the classroom. We don't know what to do. Can you write up a workshop or do a workshop for those two aspects? And we do more as well, anxiety, managing moods. But let's say, for example, we just stay with body image and dangers of social media. It's really good and effective if a young person is then talking about their experience with that. So we've had a young person who was a mentor at the time talking about her grooming experiences. And what we wanted to highlight through all of that it wasn't just a one-off contact on the internet. This was something that was happening over a period of years, because I think sometimes people or young people might have preconceived ideas about what it is. It's just somebody contacting you and it's just a one-off. So we'd have somebody speak about how it's been for them, how they've managed to overcome things. And then we'd do, I love drama myself. I'm quite dramatic. I'm a bit of a drama queen. So we'd do some kind of forum theatre. And that would be any situation, where body image or, or something like that would be the focus. And it would be something really dramatic. Our drama facilitators are amazing. And then, we leave that on a cliffhanger. And then we go out into the breakout rooms. So during that drama workshop, the forum theatre, we do 2 goes. The first time it's just the drama facilitators who are actors and they act through something. And then the second time we ask the young people to participate. So they take over. Well, what would, if you're this actor, this person or this character, what would you say right now? And so this gives the young people the experience. They're actually experiencing being in this situation.
Now, how long has this been? How long have these workshops been taking place?
They've been taking place. The first one was in 2012. And we've been doing it all through then. And in the lockdown, when we couldn't go into the schools, because of social distancing and respecting for the virus, we Zoomed in. And so each of the classrooms, they had a teacher and they had the students in the classroom, and there was about there was 30 of us on a screen, um, yeah, and we managed to do it that way.
Have you had a chance to encounter some of the younger people, the people that participated 12 years ago
Um,
since
we
then?
we have young people that are now in the organization as mentors,
Hmm.
which is great. And my time as a teacher, I'm feeling quite nostalgic because I'm looking at some of the pictures that you're showing there, because there's I've had students of mine that I've known them since we were 10 years old, that have mentored, or they've done, like fundraising events for the charity, which has been really, I find that really deeply touching,
Hmm.
that that a young person would, I mean, young compared to me, but like, they're in their 20s or 30s, that they say, look, I want to come and make a difference. Like, please train me up to be a mentor so I can do that.
And clear endorsement of their experience.
Yeah.
Um, I want to talk a little bit about the parent side of this. As I said, I have several friends, like three that come to mind right away. They're all dealing with different challenges with their teens. Um, and it's incredibly stressful for them and incredibly difficult. And one of the things that I want, would just love to hear from you is, what would you say to somebody who's right square in the middle of dealing with, their child, their baby, now a teen who has got a real struggle, struggle that's changed their behavior, that's, you know, changing the trajectory of their life.
Yeah, yeah. And we do get parents and we do parent workshops, and I really do um, feel everything that they're experiencing. And in the book that I wrote, and the reason why I wrote the book was I was seeing similar patterns of things, like, a parent with their teenager. So the book was written for them 10 years beforehand, things that they could be putting into place to prevent all of that, if you like. And just simple things, like, because I've seen parents just run ragged. They're not spending any time on themselves. They are in their child's world and worried so much. And they're not spending any time for them. And I know that it's not much, but I think it's pretty impactful, to spend 20 minutes, for a parent to spend 20 minutes a day on doing exactly what they want. Because what I've seen is that they're worrying and worrying and worrying, and that doesn't really help the young person. They're just getting worse, and the parent is worrying. And I understand why they're worrying, because they feel helpless. But first of all, they need to spend 20 minutes a day on themselves doing what they want to do, because once they're kind of like giving themselves what they need, they'll be able to give, because a lot of them are just kind of like
Yeah,
fake, empty, spent,
yeah.
you
Well,
know?
it's, there's no no greater attachment in life than to your child or your
Yeah.
children. Um,
And then I'd say that they need to spend 20 minutes a day with their child. So like every day for 10 minutes. And I know it's difficult because a lot of parents are working, they haven't got the time, they're speaking with the young person in a certain register, like, have you done your homework? Are you ready for school? Have you got your books? Have you done this? Make sure you do that. And that's the kind of conversation that they're having. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because it's necessary, but in the time that they have with their children, that 20 minutes can be anything that they want to talk about, because chances are that there is something there. And I've had a lot of young people come and speak with me, and whatever they share with me, and this was when I was a teacher, they didn't want to tell their parents because they didn't want to worry them. Oh, they're working, doing this, they're doing that. I don't want to bother them. So they end up telling their friends, or they come to us as teachers, and they'll find somebody. And when a parent makes that 20 minutes a day without fail, then that young person will know that that's the opportunity that they can speak, which is really good for boys, because boys find it difficult to speak and will do it at the it will seem like inconvenient times, but like girls, for example, it's easier because you can plan an event and you can go to the event, and with the backdrop you're going to talk and share. And with boys it's a little bit different. And what I've found, and a lot of research backs up, is that the healthiest children, and when I say the healthiest children, I mean the ones that do well in their exams, they're less likely to have, they're emotionally healthy. They don't have the mental health difficulties. They're not going on to drugs, and they're happier, they're healthier. Are ones that have the family meals and eat them together about 5 times a week, because when they come from school, it's just really important. It's simple, but it's effective. No mobile phones. Like us as adults, we need to be, kind of like showcasing or being or modeling the behavior, not kind of like they're on our mobile phones, which I think like a lot of us, it could be difficult, but, these kind of things need to be done, because it's it's the greatest time of socialization when a child is in their teenage years, and they need to be socializing with people outside, with their friends, their peers, and with adults as well. And with social media and all of that there, it just stops that kind of development.
Yeah. Um, I want to ask another thing back to the parent experience. You talked about the struggle to make time, the struggle to. I I think there's I'll just look my friends. There's a point in time where you've talked to doctors, you've done several kinds of interventions, um, and that sense of just things being out of your control or ability to influence, where there's pitfalls, pitfalls in how you relate to your child. Like somehow they've changed,
Mhm.
as opposed to they're the same, but their circumstances are different.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah. I mean, and this is why it's important to be listening to them rather than speaking. I mean, they're learning a lot from us. And then it's for us to provide that space where they can be, where they can talk to us. And our children are making a lot of decisions on a daily basis. And a lot of it is happening when they're not with their parents, they're in schools, things are happening. And and if it's a negative thing, they're usually making it mean something about themselves or something negative about themselves. Then if they don't have us with them, somebody to speak with and somebody to help them reason it out. Well, okay, so that happened, but it doesn't mean that you're this, or it doesn't mean that you're that. Then we can help them, we can guide them in that reason and thinking process. So they're less likely to think, or they're not going to think that they're at fault and it is their fault, which will influence them going forwards. So it's really important for us to, I mean, the mentors that we train up, we train them up in listening skills, because it's really important, because for our young people, some of them, they don't have that. They don't have an hour a week where they can be listened to, where somebody can really get them.
Mm.
They don't have that luxury.
What do you think it is about that experience of really being listened to that's so powerful for a young person?
Because when they can speak, they're being listened to, they can start growing and developing themselves, developing their character. Because if nobody's speaking with them, all of these things are happening, but it's all there in their head. Everything's there in their head. It's not really making any sense. So they could be on social media. It could be some kind of like trauma due to some kind of like pornography, because 80% of 10-year-olds have seen some kind of like, nudity or pornography on their on the internet and are kind of like perturbed by that,
Yeah.
and it's at times like this that they need to talk that through with somebody.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I hear also in what you're describing is when you have a flood of thoughts, they're all new thoughts. It sometimes the thoughts um, are scary.
Mm,
I shouldn't be having this thought. Where when you're providing them with this opportunity to be listened to, they actually get that they're having a normal thought in the face of perhaps an abnormal situation,
yeah,
which
yeah,
I know just for me in my life, that's always very centering. When I get, oh, that's a normal reaction to it's the situation that's crazy, not me. And
yeah. And I just want to say as well about the drama workshops, because a lot of that happens in the drama workshops,
hmm,
because we have the case studies and people are talking about what they're dealing with. One young person was saying, "No, I thought that it was just me." And I said, okay, it's okay, this has happened to this person, so it's not just them, it's me as well. And that's the beauty of the drama workshops, because we're doing it for many people, so we can impact many young people rather than the mentoring, which is one-on-one.
hmm. So if you look into the future, of the foundation, what what do you see you tackling in the next 10 years?
I see us spreading. That sounds like an illness. No, but I see us getting more, reaching more countries, because what I've seen is, and what I've been mentoring young people in different countries, and the problematic is the same. There might be different ways that we kind of like do the services, but there's a need in many different countries. And now, I mean, in the USA, we're working in Florida. We're there in Florida at the moment, and we're working in South America. And it's just what I see in the next 10 years is that we would be rolling our services in every country. And I'd like to see our mood mentors in schools. And just as now we have mentors, like normal mentors, which are the fabric of society, every school has mentors, because they're really important and vital. I'd like to see the same with mood mentors.
Um, I want to ask you a question because I hear a number of um, things that are evocative of what Landmark is concerned for in our courses and programs. And a simple way to say that is, the human condition that we're all
Mm.
part of.
Yeah.
Um, but you're a very highly trained professional and invested a lot of time and been at work at this for a long time. But I'm curious how, your participation with Landmark has played a role in what you do or how you've built the organization.
Yeah. I mean, I've always seen that with people that are starting their own enterprise, their own thing, you need some kind of like external support, coaching, or some kind of like framework. This is really vital. And for me, I have found that in Landmark.
Hmm.
If it wasn't for Landmark and the intervention and the courses I went on, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I wouldn't be able to, because I think before I said to you, I tried to set up the charity for 2 years and I was unable to do it. And then I remember I went on to a course which was the Introduction to Leaders program. And 7 months later I came out, I had the charity, I had the purpose. I'd got over the grieving. I was, I before I was lost, and it really, for me it was just like magic. And I was thinking, wow. So using that, and another one like the team management and leadership program, it was when I was on that course that we started going global. I started knowing the importance of team, and what was missing from what I was doing before was team, and putting
Yeah.
that in place. It just got bigger.
That's great. That's great. For somebody who's listening or watching that hasn't participated with Landmark, what you're pointing to, Jacqui, is there's always an inertia between an idea and making it a reality. And I think that one of the things that you experience in participating with Landmark is it breaks that inertia.
Yeah.
And then once it's moving, you start to see opportunities that have been there all along, but just kind of been hidden from your view.
Yeah.
And nonetheless, it takes a deep commitment, which you obviously have, to make it a reality. That's something you have to bring yourself. But it's really, really a gift and a privilege to be with you today. It really is. And I just thank you for, you and all the people that you've trained and mentored for the work that you're doing with young people. They are entering a different future than the one that we entered. And knowing that there's an advocacy for them like this is really inspiring.
Oh, Seamus, thank you very much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Landmark Difference Makers. If you're inspired by what you heard and you want to learn more about Landmark's programs or explore upcoming episodes, visit landmarkforumnews.com to find resources, event details, and more stories of people making extraordinary impact around the globe. If you are already a part of the Landmark community, check out the Landmark subscription, designed to provide ongoing support in creating a life you love. Visit landmarkworldwide.com to learn more. Until next time, keep creating, keep contributing, and keep making a difference.